Hi gang, Rob here. We have today a product overview for collectorknives.net. This one on a fixed blade knife from Landi Knives. And kind of an interesting series. I guess if we had to name it, we would call it the Bull series of knives. There are several models of bulls in Landi's Bull series. This one, the Snake Bull. So let's talk about the sheath for the Snake Bull just a little bit. This is a Kydex sheath, not fold over, so two separate pieces. And then an appliance that we're sort of familiar with on Landi knives, this Kydex yoke attached to a dangle. That can either have your belt slid through it, or you can just snap it to a piece of webbing or whatever that you have to dangle the knife from. You can take this yoke all the way off and go tech lock or any kind of cord attachment that you might want to use with the various riveted holes. Holds the knife very quietly. There is no rattle except when the dangle hits the knife. But no rattle, no movement whatsoever. Very nicely made sheath. Great retention. These blades are not in A2 or any other kind of tool steel. These are bead blasted 154 cm. Pretty cool. I guess I would classify this as sort of an all-purpose woods blade that might have some fightability if you were pressed to use it that way. What we've got here is a blade length of 5¼ inches, so about the same size as a small K-bar. The cutting edge length is 4¾ inches. And then the handle is 5½ inches long. And this blade is fashioned of 7/32 stock, or about 220 thousandths thick, but very steeply ground to a small dimension behind the edge. So, it's a 32nd shy of being 1/4 inch thick, but it comes to a nice thin dimension. I'm guessing under 30 thousandths or right at 30 thousandths behind the edge, and it comes with a decent factory edge. So not only would it be a great batoner and chopper, but you could also use this knife for fine work like feather sticking, food preparation. Just a really nice all-purpose blade. Let's talk about this handle, because it's a little interesting, isn't it? As you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of aggressively contoured handles. This one does fit the hand well, although it's just a little odd to the eye. Now, that's not a bad thing, it's just a little odd to the eye. Just one finger groove in the handle for the index finger, and then a nice palm swell. Lets the rest of the fingers just sort of find their own homes naturally. Sort of a pommel, without the knife having a physical pommel, but the back of the handle certainly emulates a pommel to give you great leverage with the pinky if you're making snap cuts, great security as a chopper. Lanyard hole back there as well. These handle scales are canvas micarta in an OD green, and they are grooved. This is not an anso pattern, although it kind of looks like one. These grooves sort of go all the way across from top to bottom. They're not staggered like an anso. Don't know that matte finish canvas micarta needs grooves, because even as it gets wet it gets grippier, but they're not overly tactile, making them uncomfortable, so I don't mind them. And they do add sort of an aesthetic element to the knife that is not a bad thing. This one does come with a forward finger choil for the index finger, and even though the handle forms sort of a guard, It's not so high at the spine that it makes using that forward choil uncomfortable when we set the thumb out on top of the spine. So very nicely designed. You might have noticed the finish on this 154 cm is bead blasted, a finish we don't see a whole lot of anymore, except when we're looking for a non-glare finish in an uncoated steel. And 154 cm should be rust resistant enough to be able to deal with the elements even in a bead blasted form. How about that blade, huh? Just a classic drop point. Great belly, broad enough spine to be whacked through logs, batoning style for making a fire. Just a pretty cool utilitarian, nothing it doesn't need and everything it does kind of a knife. The blade on this thing is just one of my favorites I've seen from John Landi. His knives tend to be a little bit thick behind the edge. Not so in the case of the Bull series, not so in the case of the Snake Bull. I really like it. These are available now on collectorknives.net. Get yours while you still can. That's all for this one. Grace to you and peace, my friends, from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the Word is sharp.